Thank you very much, Assistant City Manager Havorka. Good evening, Your Honor, members of council. It is a pleasure to present the proposed project lists for funding in the 2024 Capital Improvement Plan and the draft CIP document to you for your consideration this evening. During the January 25th City Council meeting, staff provided an overview of the 2024-2026 CIP process. Available funding sources and anticipated funding amounts were also presented, along with a comprehensive list of projects submitted for consideration and funding and some detail associated with those projects. However, specific funding recommendations were not provided at that time. And next, we have a number of projects for new vehicles in various departments. This includes 9 new vehicle purchases as part of 6 different proposed projects. We have a vehicle for community preservation, a vehicle for information technology, 2 new patrol vehicles for the police department, 2 unmarked vehicles for the police department, a new Public Works street sweeper, and 2 new vehicles for the Public Works Maintenance Division's new supervisors. These new vehicles total $1,125,000 altogether. I know we covered those in January, but any questions on those recommended purchases?
And you'll continue to utilize the methodology of coordinating with other municipalities when it comes to purchasing of vehicles to see if there's some savings. I can't recall the term that's used in that regard.
Piggybacking.
Thank you.
Yes.
You'll continue to do that.
Absolutely.
Councilman?
Hey, can you describe some of the reason for the police department unmarked vehicle? That cost seems high for me for a vehicle that's supposed to be unremarkable and unmarked. Can you describe some of the reason behind that cost?
Well, we have Chief Arguello here, but I will say there's a reliance on those unmarked vehicles sometimes for other types of uses to fill in other needs if we're short on patrol vehicles, but I'll let our resident expert speak to that.
Unless one of these was specifically your car, Chief, then we will.
Is this on? Okay, great. Good evening. Thank you. Good evening, and I appreciate the question. To provide some clarification regarding unmarked vehicles, we do prefer for them to be unremarkable for sure. We've been told over the years when we're working undercover operations, even as far back as my task force days, that there's certain vehicles and models that folks look for in operations to know it was the police that's trying to do the surveillance. But specifically, we have not had any luck in finding vehicles that meet the crash test ratings, the reliability ratings, the motor ratings, and all the safety factors we need in the aftermarket space. There's some unknowns to those vehicles, so we work closely with our corporation yard folks to source the vehicles. During the most recent years, we've had some difficulty in sourcing and even some of the piggybacking that you're speaking of, where we've actually had to go buy vehicles off of lots in the open market and compete, where we've gotten no responses in trying to look for certain vehicles, as opposed to just finding some very specific models that come in that category of being recognized, even though they're unremarkable, as police fleet vehicles. The other aspect we try to do with the vehicles is at times we try to, if they're unmarked but going to be used by administrative staff and not surveillance purposes, we try to buy off of the state bid and just request the unmarked version, but they're still pursuit rated. And the reason we do that is at times when we've had, we don't have we have a lean fleet, and so if we have vehicles that get involved in collisions, whether it's even our responsibility or somebody else's at fault, it could take up to 18 months or upwards of that to get a vehicle ordered and back to replace that vehicle. So our safety net is to have some unmarked administrative vehicles that could be converted to fully functional patrol vehicles and be pursuit rated, added the additional equipment with all the computer software and hardware inside, the partitioned all those aspects of a regular patrol vehicle as our safety net to being able to have first responder vehicles. So those are a couple of the factors. And then, of course, there's the warranties. Our corporation yard likes to work with the warranties, and those in themselves can add, three or so $1,000. And then there's all the lighting equipment that, even though if they're unmarked, we still need them to have all the same safety and lighting equipment so that we can alert the public for code 3 responses or pursuits. So it ends up, all those things end up adding up.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do the